Hey everybody, Mike Sullivan with Born to Shine. Today we have John Searles. He is out in Michigan and he has something really unique where he supports districts with their climate, their culture, and I guess you're working with a lot of superintendents all over Michigan
Hmm.
and guiding them. Well, would you share more about that? Because this is
Sure.
new to me. Would love to hear about it.
So really about 5 or 6 years ago, I got really interested in positive psychology and it, as I learned more about it, and we use a model called the PERMA model, which each of the letters stand for something. But what's really important is the fact that when you're thinking or hearing about the tenets of positive psychology, some of those things are really relevant to your life and some are not. And I talk about positive psychology being something that we catch. So for example, many people around this time of year are making New Year's resolutions, right? And we know that on average, most of them fail. It's because we don't really often aren't realistic about our New Year's resolutions. So, from positive psychology, what we learn is when we want to make a change in our lives, we have to really think about what are those micro goals that will get us to the big goal. So, for
Mm.
example, if I want to become a runner, I can't just strap on some shoes and go run 5 miles, right? If we do, it's our body's going to hurt the next day. We're going to be out of breath. We're probably going to say, "No way, am I ever doing this again?" So, what I mean by micro goals, anytime we want to make a big change, we break that goal down into little pieces, and we say, "Okay, well, I'm going to go out and buy shoes," and then that's the first goal. The next goal might be, "I'm going to put my shoes on every day." And then you work for a week and you achieve that goal. And then you say, my next goal is I'm going to walk to the mailbox and back every day. And so you do that. And then maybe it's like you go to the end of the block or you go a mile or whatever it is, but you make small incremental changes that are sustainable and that don't give you an excuse to say, oh, I can't do that. That's one of the tenets of positive psychology and change is that we need to develop habits, right? We need to develop positive habits that will help us make those changes over time. So that's just an example of how out of the many hundreds of tenets of positive psychology that things can become very relevant. And so as a school leader for I've been in education for 30 some years now and a superintendent for 20 years, what I've learned is that in my work, culture is everything. So creating a positive culture where everyone feels connected and everyone feels that they are on a pathway to thriving is really important for the adults in the organization as well as the kids. Now, in our profession, we tend to talk a lot about how do we put kids first. We say it's good for kids and this is good for kids, that's good for kids, kids are at the center. Those are our words. Our actions are often very different than that. So when we're thinking about how do we put kids first, we also have to think about how do we put the adults in our organizations first so that they have the capacities to support the kids who we want to put first. And then more importantly, perhaps, is creating a community and creating the undergirdings in a community so that the school districts can thrive, so that kids and families in our school districts can thrive. And so, for example, when I talk to people and they say, well, what's the one thing that we can do to improve student achievement? And they're often looking for, well, if you would just buy this program or you do this coaching model or you do this thing, you're going to have skyrocketing results. And what we know is in education is that we never stay in tune with those kinds of things long enough to make lasting change. So what I talk about is how important it is to create a culture in a community that supports education and supports the educators, the kids, and their families. So if you want to improve achievement, what you have to do is create the environment in which kids, families, our staff members in schools can thrive. That's a really important learning, and I think one that perhaps maybe we are somewhat blinded to in education because we're very results oriented and we have lots of pressures all the time to improve student achievement. And of course we're situated in politics always. It doesn't matter left or right, there's always politics surrounding us and influencing how we do our jobs. So
Mm.
that's kind of a little bit about my point of view of where I'm coming from. It's about how can we think about kids and families in our communities and what are those supports that we can think about that really help connect our employees to something greater, right? Like so many of us have many employees as educational leaders, right? We don't know them all. We might not be able to say their names, but what we know in terms of organizational theory is that people all need to feel very connected
Mm,
to someone in their organization and feel like someone really cares about them. So that's something that I model in our organization. Like I want to stay very connected to my cabinet, my leadership team. There's 10 people who I know really well, who I want to know about their kids, their grandkids, their cats, their dogs, the things that are important to them, right? And we model that, and so that they go forward and then they model that with their supervisors or their teachers, the people that work for them, and the teachers model that with the people that work in their classrooms and with with the students that they serve. So everyone feels that kind of connection to someone in the organization, which points to the fact that we're all about something that's greater than ourselves. We're
hmm.
about this organization or this mission to support kids, support families, support their achievements, support their dreams, help them, everyone in the organization, get to what's next for them.
This is great, John. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your time with us, sharing your heart, because I definitely feel that. I mean, that just shines through, and you definitely care about kids, the staff as well, the adults, the parents, connecting everyone together, having that sense of community, and everyone having that. Well, it's relational. That sounds like the key.
Right.
It's all
Absolutely.
about relational relationships, making people feel safe, heard, valued, appreciated, loved,
Right.
welcomed.
That's right.
So this is great, and I'm gonna definitely float the website down and all the info. And if you're out there and you would like to hear more from John, you can reach him at LinkedIn, and I'll put all the websites if that's okay with you, John.
Absolutely.
But thanks so much for being with us today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Okay, we're back. John has something
it.
super cool, and he's writing a book. And can you tell us more about that, John?
Sure. And people that know me are sick of hearing about this, right? But the I'm writing this book called The Reluctant Beekeeper: Lessons in Life, Leadership, and Love. And I tell stories about this all the time when I'm talking to groups because the as we know that the collection of stories and is really important to illustrate some of the things that we find to be important in our hearts. And so anyway, I take this concept of beekeeping because I was not into beekeeping at all. And my youngest son, Jared, started getting interested in it because my wife grew up on a family farm in Traverse City where they raise cherries. Okay.
Oh,
And
cool.
bees are a critical part of having a successful cherry crop. And so
Hmm.
my son, Jared, when he was younger, really got interested in beekeeping. And then when he went off to college, here we are with all this bee stuff. And so my wife took it up. And, some of the hives, the parts of the hives can be like 90 pounds, and so
Ooh.
we would need to work together to lift those. Anyway, I was not really interested in it, but as time went on, I became less reluctant to help out with the bees, and I was became fascinated by them. And if you think about it, we all have a pretty short time on this earth, and we make a really small contribution, hopefully. And I was likening that to bees.
Hmm.
So a bee might live, I forget how long they live, but in their entire lifetime, they make less than a drop of honey. So if
Oh,
you can
wow.
imagine that, right? They're
Yeah.
working as busy as bees, they're going out, coming back, going out, coming back. And in their lifetime, they make, let's say, a drop of honey. And we had 3 hives last year, and I think we got 55 gallons of honey.
Whoa. A lot of
If
bees.
you think about that and think about it in our work in schools, one of the things that's really unique is the fact that we're all working really hard, hopefully pulling on the rope in the same direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but we don't know what our impact is. Our
Mm-hmm.
collective impact is huge,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially over time. And I
Right.
think that when you get into the day to day of the hard work, whether you're a paraeducator, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a teacher, a principal, a superintendent, no matter what your work is, it can be very disillusioning, right? Because you just think, oh, I'm doing this, and there's so many other pressures, and we're forgetting about kids. And so we have to really stay focused on that work that we're doing every day and
Mm-hmm.
how that can really translate into a collective impact that is so powerful. And that may only be way down the road when kids realize that, oh, wow, Mrs. So and so had a huge impact
Mm.
on my life today. And that was way back in first grade.
Right.
We can all tell stories about teachers. We remember their names years and years later. So I think that thinking about those lessons that we can have from bees in collaboration, in doing things for others that maybe we might not want to do, but we do that because we're part of a family, we're part of a tribe, we're part of a classroom, whatever it is, can have a tremendous effect on not only ourselves but those around us.
I love it. That's so cool. When is the book coming out? I want to buy a copy. And
Let's say my wife is trying to like kick me and get going, right? And I'm like,
wow.
well, I need to. And then a number of colleagues are starting to say, John, we're so sick of hearing about your stupid book. So I have a goal to have something available in about 6 months. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. And then maybe even an audible version. That would be
Oh
pretty
yeah, for
cool too.
sure.
All right, sweet.
Read
Now,
by the
thanks.
author. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be
We'll see.
cool. No, you should for sure.
That's
That would be awesome.
presumptuous.
We even if your wife got in there, there's some
It'd be
audiobooks where they
cool.
have the husband and wife. That would be even, and then your son too, right? Because he's
Yeah, right.
yeah, that would be amazing.
It'd be a lot of fun.